morning. I'm Carly Shimkin.
She is also shining with Christmas spirit here on a Wednesday.
And it's hump day.
It is. 2 weeks till Christmas Eve. I'm Todd Pyro. Let's get right to Lucas Tomlinson live in Washington with some of the highlights from the president's joke fest/rally last night. Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Carly and Todd. President Trump kicking off his affordability tour, telling the assembled crowd of Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, in the northeastern part of the state, that Democrats are the cause for the high prices and pledging to bring them down.
I have no higher priority than making America affordable again. That's what we're going to do. And again, they caused the high prices and we're bringing them down. It's a simple message. And we're bringing those prices down rapidly. Lower prices, bigger paychecks. You're getting lower prices, bigger paychecks. We're getting inflation. We're crushing it.
During the campaign-style rally in the state Trump won by a narrow margin last year, the president reminded the crowd of the 40-year high inflation under Joe Biden.
You know, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. So they look at the camera and they say, this election is all about affordability. Democrats talking about affordability is like Bonnie and Clyde preaching about public safety. And they are really truly the enemy of the working class when they do it.
One woman told the crowd of more than 1,000 assembled how Trump's new tax policies are helping her.
As President Trump said, I'm a mom, a wife. I homeschool my 2 brilliant children. And the no tax on tips is incredible. No tax on overtime is incredible for my husband. And it all comes back to our family. It saves us, and it's for the future of our children. And it's been such a blessing to be home with them and to have them here with me tonight. And thank you for everything.
A new Fox News poll shows a majority of voters say the economy is in poor or fair condition, and Trump is responsible for the conditions. 76% say that the economic conditions are good or poor, and 62% blame President Trump. Now, Trump's address last night in Pennsylvania, part of an effort by his administration to change that messaging on the economy, as many blame his tariffs for the increase in some prices, guys.
I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today. The road to the midterms started last night in Pennsylvania.
Guess what day? Guess what? Guess what? I'll tell you the tale. Guess what? Guess what? I'll tell you the tale that's not funny or jolly. A brother in Somali stole all the money, but guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day it is? It's hump day.
What's up? Merry Christmas. Let's freaking go. We have a stacked show today. A lot of people saying they don't care about the midterms. I care about the midterms, care about my kids' future, care about not being put in prison, having this channel shut down, having 30 million criminal aliens given citizenship, every single election get rigged, vote by phone. Do you understand that the Democrats will absolutely and totally pack the Supreme Court after nuking the filibuster and make 2 new states, Puerto Rico and D.C., adding 4 new senators for the left? I mean, do you understand what we're facing here? Hate to go so hot off the top, but we don't have a lot of time on today's show, and I got to tell you, man, this whole psyop, we don't care about the midterms, we don't care about the Republican Party. Dude, you should, and you got to. Especially if you are a parent, especially if you are somebody who has something to live for in this country, you've got to care about these midterms. And we are now in election season and in Christmas season. Welcome to Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. What Republicans must do to win the midterms. We have some members of the administration on the show today. We have some experts on the show today in polling, and we have some members of Congress that only spit truth that will be talking about the landscape and how Republicans need to fix what's been broken. Did they break it? Some of them. Was it broken for them? Oh, yes. When it comes to the intel agencies, the federal bureaucracy, the national debt, the way the DC works, that was broken generations ago. But there's a way for us to win in 2026. And President Trump started that process last night in his first midterms rally. Trump held a massive rally in Pennsylvania, torched Ilhan Omar, and proved that he is the funniest president to ever live. Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Polling on the show. Harmeet Dillon from the DOJ on the show. And Tim Burchett, our favorite member of Congress, on the show. Let's go, baby. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Off the top, I got to tell you, we are going to some Christmas parties this weekend. I'm excited to bring our kids to the White House for the White House Children's Christmas Party. We're going to be excited to go also to an adults Christmas party at the White House. We're heading up to D.C. tomorrow, so expect a shorter show. And we're going to be traveling with our kids, which is always, people say, have a nice vacation. And it's like, it's not a vacation. It's a family trip when you're bringing 4 kids under the age of 5. But when we go there, we will be bringing our Christmas ornaments. As I said, we put a J.D. Vance Christmas ornament on the J.D. Vance Christmas tree. And ladies and gentlemen, you can put a Christmas ornament on your Christmas tree for $5, made right here in America by the sweet hands of our American veterans. We've shipped 50,000 of these suckers this year, and we are still ready to go. All orders have been fulfilled. People are getting Christmas trees across the country stacked with their favorite memories from 2025. These are memory ornaments so that you can just remember some of the good times. It's going to be up and down. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the trash truck. Trump trash truck on the tree belonging to Stephanie Aguilar. Well done, Stephanie. The Trump 2028 hat and the J.D. Vance ornaments. I can see it right there. That's a beautiful tree. There you go. From Joe Black. Well done, tree of the day. The RFK. Don't you dare. Oh, Ken Landers sent in a video. Look at that, Ken. Beautiful. That is an amazing Christmas tree. That is beautiful. Send in your Christmas trees to Klein@BennyJohnson.com. That is a fantastic Christmas tree. What is it, Ralphie? You're going to shoot your eye out. All you need is the stocking lamp, and you are set and ready to go. Christmas season is upon us, and we are filled with optimism and appreciation and gratitude for the year that we have had. I know it hasn't been perfect. I know there's been a lot of frustration. I know there's been a lot of demon energy, frankly. We watched our friend and a future generational leader and president, Charlie Kirk, get killed on a live stream. A year ago, we watched our president take a bullet to the head. Yesterday, we watched one of our friends, somebody who appeared on the show, Tricia McLaughlin, get arrests made for people that wanted to publicly hang her, execute her. It's like totally evil, but something that is, well, worth fighting for this country, and it's important to know who your enemy is. I don't want my enemies to be other podcasters on the right. I don't want my enemies to be other people that are at the very least rowing in the same direction. We try our level-headed best to stay the F out of meaningless drama, to stay focused on the mission and to build, because, quite frankly, that is the nature of God. But what do I mean by that? Good builds things. Evil tears them down and destroys them. And that is something that is so critical when we are looking at what this movement is and what do we wish to do with it going forward. You have to have a foothold. It's going to be imperfect, ladies and gentlemen. And as we have said, we are not 100% in favor of a lot of things, quite frankly, but this is not like the gripe episode. Maybe we'll have our airing of grievances, right? Like we'll have that episode. It's like ALX and I will put together the Seinfeld. Shoot, what is it? What is the holiday on Seinfeld? Festivus. Thank you. We'll have a Festivus airing of grievances. Maybe we'll do that in the new year. But at the end of this year, and we'll have the Festivus metal poll, right? Yes, okay. Maybe we'll bring that into the studio, Klein. We'll have an airing of grievances. Maybe that's how we'll start off the year or end the year, so that we bury everything before the new year. But we want to start off with a positive outlook because there's so much doomerism happening right now. People wanting to be edgelords, saying, we don't care about the midterms, we don't care about Trump, we don't care about the Republican Party. Everything's in collapse, everything's in flames, everything's over, it's so over, it's a total black pill, and I'm sick of it, honestly. Do you understand the alternative? You understand what will happen as soon as the left takes power? They'll nuke the filibuster. They'll add 12 new Supreme Court justices. There'll never be another victor in the Supreme Court. They'll do unlimited vote by mail and vote by phone. That's what they want to do in California. They want to do vote by phone. They want to lower the voting age to 16. They want to let every single illegal alien vote, and that'll happen because they'll naturalize 30 million criminal aliens that are here right now illegally. Then they'll add, again, 2 more Senate seats by making D.C. a state. D.C. is so dysfunctional. It is like a Somalian terrorist zone. It's like Mogadishu. Puerto Rico, they'll do the same thing. And then they'll pack the Senate, they'll pack the court, and they'll make it so that Republicans will never win an election ever again. Not only that, they'll trans the kids. They'll make it mandatory that you have transgender bathrooms, men and women's sports. They'll make it mandatory that your children are forced into propaganda schools. They'll probably criminalize homeschooling. And of course, they'll take down channels like this one. They'll crack down on all free speech. They'll fine into oblivion every single free speech platform. And they'll take away your voice. They'll steal it. It'll be gone. And so we're at a precipice right now. We're at a turning point right now. And it's something that we have to be critically laser focused in on. Now, I have Mark Mitchell, who's getting set right now, and he's one of the best pollsters in the country. He is the pollster that told us exactly what was about to happen in 2024, and he was right. He was dead on. And he's got some positive news about 2026 if Republicans can get their asses in gear. Let's talk about it. Let's just take some of the top line. As Mark's getting set, let's take some of the top line positive information. Trump polls higher than Obama and Bush on this day in history. Okay, this is real clear polling. Something magical is happening with Trump's polls. Trump shot up 5 points last night in a 4 Sigma Alpha move after doing a barnstorming midterm campaign rally. And what is he campaigning on? Affordability. What is the MAGA movement built on? America First. What is America First exactly? America First says country's full. That's what America First really says. Country's full, and we have too many problems right now. I am an advocate of net zero immigration. I am an advocate of destroying birthright citizenship, ending chain migration, repealing Hart-Celler, ending all welfare benefits to every criminal alien, deporting 30 million criminal aliens so Americans can get affordable homes, gasoline, groceries. For our American population, we have way too much welfare that goes on. Extreme crackdowns and work requirements for that. And the entire country agrees with us. Also, of course, secure votings and voter ID. These are like 90-10 issues. This is what the MAGA movement is. Secure votes, secure borders, secure country. Safe streets. That's MAGA. MAGA is, am I leaving my country better for my children? That's what America First was, and it was what it will always be. The opposite of America First is, I will leave my country worse for my kids. So I'm on that side. And President Trump locking in with that message gives him bumps in the polls. Now, obviously, he's being dragged down at the same point, the same place that so many other presidents get sort of stuck in the mud here. But you can see President Trump has the potential to break out of this. Let's go ahead and look at the redistricting potential here for Republicans real quick before people say that it's totally doomed. No, please, the redistricting tweet. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get to that in just 1 second. Here are the confirmed Democrat gains. You have +6. The Utah decision is such bullshit. That's a decision made by a judge. That's under appeal, so I'm not exactly sure that that's confirmed. But nonetheless, pending Democrat gains, a couple other ones. Confirmed Republican gains, you have quite a few. And then pending gains, you could really see a big bump. Confirmed gains, Republicans could potentially gain 21 different seats in redistricting. And here's the map. Here's what it looks like. Again, Utah is a judge deciding this. And this is without, by the way, the Supreme Court knocking down the racial redistricting that happens That is, of course, should be patently illegal. You shouldn't be able to make a congressional seat based on your skin color. What the F is this country even? What even happened to this country? Like, didn't we fight a war? Didn't hundreds of thousands of young men die so that we didn't like make district based on your skin color? Didn't like decide things based on your skin color? It's imperfect, but what the hell is going on? So the Supreme Court, I think, is going to strike that down, may even add to these totals. So the map, either way, looks relatively positive. Check this out, and I can't wait for Mark to comment on this, but we have Big Data Poll and Morning Consult at a +1 Democrat. Mark was telling me earlier that he has +3 for Democrat. That is not bad for the party that is currently out of power, that comes roaring up in the, you got to get to the Morning Consult poll, please. ALX highlight, please. For the party that is like out of power in midterms, not bad. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fine. This is in the fine category. You need me to send it to you. There you go. I just want you guys to see the poll. We always show the evidence on the show. All right, important. There was some election losses last night. Democrats tend to do really well in these off-year and special elections. The Republican mayor of Miami, that was a loss. But you know that like only 30,000 people voted in that race. And by the way, demographics is destiny. The hardcore Cuban Republicans that have voted in these elections since the 1960s and 70s, they've been replaced by whom? Venezuelans that Democrats have flooded into Miami. And so that election lost, but like it was like 1,000 votes. It's a couple thousand votes. So people are trying to use some of these like dark blue state as bellwethers. No, don't listen to the doomerism. Things are relatively stable right now for Republicans. There's even some good signs. 9-point shift to Republicans in Albuquerque, New Mexico election yesterday. Now, the Democrat ended up winning, but Republicans, this is a Kamala Harris +24 district in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in a blue state. Well, that's good. That's not bad. There was a Georgia election that I thought was hysterical. Do we have it, ALX? The Georgia election where we flipped. No. It was the mayor that ended up winning a Kamala Harris district in a total and complete landslide. This was a couple weeks ago. You never hear these stories because it doesn't fit the narrative. Hey, Alex, no. Grab me that one, and maybe Mark will know it. But it was a special. It was like it was a special Georgia mayoral election, Kamala +18 district, and the Republican won by 50 points. So it like just goes to show you a lot of stuff's bullshit. Like a lot of stuff is just like localized, small incubators, and you're gonna have to zoom out. And that's what President Trump did last night. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mark Mitchell on to talk about it and go through the polls. Mark has some pretty engaging and fascinating polling. And Mark has also recently been meeting with the big man who was on the campaign stump last night, but we'll have to get to some of the highlights afterward. Let's talk with, do we have the Georgia election results? Thanks, guys. Okay. We'll talk with Mark about it. But I just want to just kick off the top. Don't black pill. Don't ignore the midterms. They're critical for the future of our country. And they're not unwinnable. There are certain things that we have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk us through all of them is the great Mark Mitchell, head pollster at Rasmussen. Let's rock and roll. Hey, Mark, what's up, dude?
A lot going on. Tough
Yeah.
to keep track of literally everything, but I don't know. There's definitely some things to be happy about. There's some also things to be really concerned about.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what we want to talk about today. I mean, Donald Trump's approval rating, not that great. A couple of days ago, -12. It's up to -5 today. I'm not sure how much of that is noise, but it's not where you would expect it to be, considering he was given this massive mandate on a super popular agenda. Yeah. And I loved your insight on all of those different races. Specifically, again, people could cherry pick what they want to see if they are looking for a narrative. But what I'm trying to figure out is how it all fits into this larger picture, which is Donald Trump built his big tent with a lot of help from Democrats and independents. And that the trend we're seeing is that in the races that tend to matter, the Republicans are underperforming Trump. And the reason that is because the Republican Party isn't necessarily converting these crossover Democrats and independents who are largely younger people. And then that fits in with a larger fact and not fake narrative that younger voters actually are not really conservative at all. In fact, they think the system has failed them and they want drastic reform to the system. They don't care how they get it, and they'll be totally fine with either conservatism or socialism, whichever seems the best to them at the time. And so, in my opinion, the writing on the wall is that, yes, maybe it's going to be a really close midterm. A Democrat +3 is way better for Republicans than you'd expect to be at this point in time. And also, it looks like in the gerrymandering war of attrition, I don't like gerrymandering. It's kind of gross. Like, to me, it seems like a good plan C or D if all of the legislation he passed didn't work. But in the absence of like a lot of legislation, I guess it's what they have to do. The Republicans might win there by a couple of seats and maybe hold on to the House. The downside risk is really, really massive. I mean, people have been listing all the things that the Democrats might do when they get into office. I really think they will, because I think what this Trump administration so far will have taught us is that the Democrats can do a lot and completely get away with it. And so what I'm trying to do is really talk about the messaging coming out of the Trump administration, because it seems like they don't really understand the under 40. To be honest with you, it's the under 50 voter. And this is why I was really freaking out about 4 or 5 weeks ago when Donald Trump's approval rating started to tank, when he came out and was very, very profoundly counter-signaling his base, defending H-1Bs, defending big college, arguing with interviewers about whether or not there was affordability problems in the United States. And that is not going to play well with, again, the under 40 voters who think that they've been shut out of the American dream. And so this is the problem when Donald Trump promised some really bold things on his campaign trail. You know, he promised a golden age for America. You can't just do what Biden did and do like this George W. Bush mission accomplished moment. It's not going to work. It's gaslighting, and people can see through that stuff now.
Okay, so talk me through. We had President Trump finally on the campaign trail last night. You have Susie Wiles saying he's going into midterm mode. We are going to go out there and we're going to once again save Republicans' asses. How is the messaging war going to be won? Donald Trump is a wartime president. He needs to act like it. What is the battle lines that need to be drawn for the American people?
I gave him very, very, very straightforward advice a few weeks ago when I went to the White House. And
so you were with Trump. You were with Trump.
45-minute meeting with Trump. And I think that's great because, listen, I'm not a party guy. I'm not a movement guy. I really don't care. I just want voters to get what they voted for. I want America saved for my children and everybody else's children. And so when people invite me to the White House, I kind of see myself as like literally the only lobbyist for the American people. Because quite frankly, even seeing down there are a lot of lobbyists around the Trump administration in the Trump orbit. There's a lot of voices that get a lot of attention, and they're not the voter. And one of the things that I said to them is like, well, sir, you know, we do have an oligarchy problem. And my advice would be to smash the oligarchy and not be the oligarchy, because he has done great things with all these foreign deals, with all of these big corporations and CEOs. But at the end of the day, a lot of people will just look and say, oh, Trump's hanging out with billionaires again, and he doesn't care about me. And that stuff really matters. Like this whole Bill Clinton, I feel your pain. And we even like just polled on this, and Donald Trump, you know, he's not doing great. He's I think the number was only up by 1 point, or let me pull it up. But we asked, you know, does Donald Trump understand the pain that people like me are going through? And the numbers are not as high as you would want. And Democrats lead by 5 points on that issue. So, again, the Republican Party is kind of the party of billionaires and oligarchs. And that's an issue when actually the under 40 voters, and even about half of the Trump voting under 40 voters, are actually raging socialists. Like they want these major industries nationalized. They want wealth redistribution. They want all these things. And what they want most is order. And, you know, they thought they were getting that out of the Trump administration. He had under 40 voters eating out of his hand back in March and February. I said this to Trump as well. I said, sir, you had a 60% under 40 approval rating, which is unprecedented in modern politics. It should have been a record-scratching moment in Washington, D.C. Every Republican should have been like, wait a minute, we did something right? Like, we're the cultural zeitgeist right now. And nobody cared. In fact, what they did was they kicked Doge out. Doge, you have Elon Musk out there saying, well, we were only moderately or somewhat successful. It was the most successful political thing that we've seen probably in decades, like not counting Trump, right? We 60% under 40 approval rate. I can't emphasize enough how much.
And you ascribe that to Doge. Sorry to interrupt you, Mark, but you ascribe that to Doge.
Yeah. If you look at Google Trends, search trend volume for the word Doge, the week that Trump had a plus 60% approval rating was the same week that Doge search volume peaked. And not only that, it was a week after Donald Trump quoted Napoleon Bonaparte and said, he who saves his country violates no laws. So the trend that we've been seeing with these under 40 voters is that they want arrests. They want to return to order. If you tell them about the auto pen, they're like, oh, yeah, we should throw those people in jail, of course. Tell them about Arctic frost. Yeah, why didn't we arrest those people? And you can see this if you follow these weather vane influencers on YouTube. They are not ideological people. They aren't. But then they look at things like the ICE protesters and say, like, literally, why haven't we rolled up all of Antifa like 5 years ago? Why are we still talking about Ilhan Omar? And this gets back to the messaging, in which Trump is very happy to post on Truth Social about these things. But it's like, you're in power, dude. At a certain point, those things look kind of impotent. You're just like old man, shaking his fist at a cloud. Like, that's not where we need to be. We actually need to see. So let me step back and say, to what I said to Trump was, at the time, I think his approval rating was underwater 4 or 5 points. And I said, sir, that's not terrible. It's way better than Biden was doing. And I think you'll recover. He's built up strong support. But I don't think it's enough to be sure that the Republicans are going to be able to be dragged across, their rotting corpse dragged across the finish line a year from now. And it was almost exactly a year till Election Day when I said this. And I said, the economy is way worse than you think. It's not the stock market. It's that these people have been priced out of the American dream. And I rattled off a ton of polling. Only 27% of Americans think today's children will be better off than their parents. And all the things. You've been looking at the median first-time homebuyer age, and there's things like the instances of mental health and the amount of the youth unemployment is really high. They think only about half of under 30 voters think that anybody who wants to work will be able to find a job. Like, these are generationally bad, like horrifying death of American dream kind of things. So you can't talk about turkey prices. And I was talking about Bill Pulte and making a joke about maybe you could lease your turkey for next Thanksgiving, and with a zero down loan offered through the FDA or something like that. But anyways, it's bad. And I said, the problem is that Republicans don't seem to be helping you. I had a whole bunch of other polling. Obviously, they're down on the generic ballot, but we had only a 38% strong approval rating for Republicans among Trump voters, and a signal of about 60% of Republicans saying that Republicans in Congress aren't delivering on Trump's agenda. And we went into Election Day this year with a 9% excellent or good among independent voters for Congress. That's really bad rating. Republicans in Congress, 9% excellent or good. A negative 27% Trump approval rating among independents, also really not good. And so he lost these people, and it was a string of things. We all know. It's like, okay, he got elected for a massive government reform and economic domestic policy agenda, right? Well, it's like, okay, now we're bombing Iran. The one big beautiful bill kind of seems like business as usual out of Washington, D.C. He did a complete rug pull on Epstein, which I cautioned at very heavily at the time. And all these people like Seth Levy that you put up called me a panican. And I was right, because he permanently lost probably 500,000, whatever, a couple million independents. These people are starting to laugh at the Republican Party online. And that's a real issue. And you could say online is not the real world. Well, increasingly it is going to be, because I can tell you what I see on Twitter does not match at all what I see in Washington, D.C. So to Trump, I said, the Republican Party needs help. I wasn't too impressed with the RNC meeting that I went to. I can tell you that. But here's what I would say. I would say, listen, be very clear-eyed that the problems facing America are actually bigger than the Biden administration. They are bigger than anything that can be solved in 1 year. And I think that's fair to say. And here is the plan we have. The Trump administration, MAGA, and the Republican Party together to rebuild the American dream, to restore this golden age. And it needs to be laid out and explicit. And there's plans out there. Charlie Kirk had one, right? That's part of it. And it's not something you can do in a year. But if you can show people that we have a long-term plan and we've delivered on a portion of it, you're giving people a reason to vote for you. Because that's my hypothesis. People just need a reason to vote for Republicans. And all it needs to be is doing things for the American people with intent. So prong one was, this whole idea of economic populism. Prong two was brutal government reform. And this is the sleeper. This is the one, in my opinion, that will blow back on the Trump administration big time. And he can rage against Pam Bondi on the internet all he wants. At a certain point, people are going to start laughing at it. I mean, they already really have. Shoe on Head did a great video about it. And, he's going to become a laughingstock if he doesn't fix this, because this is like the layup. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we understand it didn't work in the first administration because everybody underestimated the extent to which the deep state exists. And I know there's a whole bunch of limits and reasons, but the under 40 voters, again, don't really care that much about rules. These people are kind of okay with you ignoring judges. And, kind of a good litmus test of where the American people are right now is that blowing up narco boats is actually more popular than Trump is now. It's got like a 57% approval rating when Trump's only got a 44%. So this is what people want to see. And what I said to him, I said, sir, the FBI raided your house, Mar-a-Lago. And right after that, we asked Americans, 53% of America said that FBI was Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. Well, you just put somebody else in charge of the Gestapo. And you could say, well, okay, Kash Patel said some great stuff on Twitter, so the FBI has been reformed. Well, it's like, no, everything they put out, everyone questions. And then just 2 weeks ago, we said, do government agencies like the FBI and the CIA need major reform? And 83% of Trump voters say yes. So whatever they've put out has not been enough. And so I said, if you want to deliver on the draining the swamp promise, which has been people have been begging for 10 years now, it needs to be brutal, visible, intentional, and done in coordination with the Republican Party. And again, I know you can't do all of this stuff like overnight, but bring America along for the ride. Let's channel some of that optimism. Show the path. We don't want a golden age. We want a golden path to the golden age. Put it on the internet. Make sure everybody in the administration is speaking on the same page, and he can't keep counter-signaling his base at all. Like on the H-1B thing, again, it's not the biggest issue, but it is a super, super huge severity issue among his own base. Like young men have been completely destroyed by the H-1B thing. All of the best jobs have been given into India. It really isn't about illegal immigration at all. Like, I love the idea of deporting these people. I think the border should be secured. Obviously, we should return to a rule of law. But at the end of the day, for every Apple developer that gets an H-1B, like that's probably the economic equivalent of 10 deportations of illegal aliens. And that's the thing that helps America. Each salary, each good paying job, that's like less stress on the healthcare system. You build a house, people have kids, you create conservatives, you're literally creating conservatives. That's the instant pressure relief valve, is give Americans jobs back. So, I mean, I was really happy to see last night he had signs that not only said lower prices, which it is a canard. Like, I don't think you can lower prices. In our conversation, he's like, well, deflation's a really bad thing. Well, it's like, okay, but then don't promise Americans you're going to lower prices, because you can't really lower prices that much. Everybody, if you talk about the eggs and the turkey prices, people are still going to go to the grocery store and walk out of there feeling like they got screwed. So the only way you're really going to fix this is probably inflating the hottest housing market on earth, or job market on earth, probably collapsing the housing market. And this is one of the things I said to him. I was like, sir, the housing market, it's really high right now. These kids can't buy houses. And he's like, well, yeah, but there's people that really, really want like the housing values. We really got to defend that. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, probably older people who will vote Republican anyways, but the under 40s that voted for Trump are literally socialists. And so when they see Mamdani come along, And he says, well, I have a solution for you. The solution is a $10 trillion housing crisis bill or crisis bill or something like that. We're handing, like Slotkin was already out there talking about this. We're handing Democrats a housing crisis if this doesn't get fixed, and they will use big government. They will drain the treasury. But you know what? Here's the perverse thing is that for the under 40 voters, it will be a solution. And so, again, this was my advice and my call was you need to present a pragmatic solution to democratic socialism, which is the wave of the future for the younger voters. This is the default position. And unless you can present an alternative that they think will work, and it can't be like, oh, by the way, the Republicans suck, but, we still might be able to do that. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? It's like Trump is obviously not a Republican, but every other candidate's going to be, right? And I just don't think, like J.D. Vance's polling is so great. It's better than Trump's was in 2022. But it's like, well, this time we mean it isn't going to be a good 2028 campaign slogan. So I think it's now or never. And every day that passes ticks us closer to the midterm election. And even if they get, they're going to get at least one reconciliation, I guess. Like, I haven't really been following what's going on in Congress. They need to message it correctly. The one big beautiful bill, I don't think they really got much out of. And again, like this idea that it's like, I love tax on tips as much as the next guy, but it's almost like it's allowing us to forget the fact that we only need it because these people's wages have been brutally suppressed by a system that the Republicans have been bought into. I think we need to be really clear-eyed. Like, this isn't something that just Biden did. We obviously should blame Biden because he was the cherry on top. But in my opinion, the biggest boogeyman here is probably George H.W. Bush, who signed the 1990 Immigration Act, gave 1, 2, 3 million, however many high salary jobs to the rest of the world. And the globalists, and with NAFTA, these people have been offshoring with both hands and feet. And, it's like we have Project Firewall that's really good. Like, we have a lot of the right components. But then Trump comes out there and then he counter signals H-1B by using talking points he quite clearly probably got from one of his very wealthy friends or a Fox News talking head. I feel like he's taking too much from like your Sean Hannity's, Lindsey Graham's. I think they have too much sway. This is too important for America deserves a better president than Lindsey Graham. I'm sorry. They just do. And it's like, if they wind up making Trey Gowdy the AG, I don't know what to tell you. Now, I don't know how you solve that problem. I guess there's no easy solutions, but the clock is ticking down to the midterms. It's going to be really close. If it goes to the Democrats, I'll probably be in the gulag with you, Benny. I'm sorry. I probably will. Too much of a free thinker.
So you told all that to Trump. I had a similar meeting with let's just call him a top-ranking member of the administration, and they told me something fascinating, Mark, and I just want to get your take on this, and I want to get your take on Trump sort of bumping up in the polls this morning and what that's all about. Is it because he took your advice in that very eloquent synopsis and scalpel-like, anatomy dismemberment of what's actually going on here? This is what the top-ranking, very powerful member of the administration told me. He said, the problem that I've seen so far for the first year is that Washington is totally intoxicating when it comes to looking outward at the rest of the world, because we have a fancy military base in every country, because every country treats you like a literal conquering king, because we own half these countries. You are looking around the world at their wars, at their problems, at their fancy bases, and at their red carpets. And that's not what our movement is actually about. And it's immoral. And this is like a fascinating conversation over a couple hours, but he said it's immoral. Christ says in the scriptures, what kind of an evil dad, when his son asks for bread, would give him a stone, or when his daughter asks for a fish, would give him a snake, right? Like, you need to take care of your own family first. And it doesn't matter if you want to adopt a couple kids. Like, it's immoral if your kids are on fentanyl to bring in like even the best adopted refugee children. Like, it's immoral if your kids are depressed and cutting themselves and are terminally online and addicted. If that's your family, you have to get your own damn household in order. No matter how many shiny things there are outside, you need to fix your own house. And they talked to me about that, and I was like, man, like, and they're talking about how they're going to do a massive muscular redirect toward domestic policy. My question to you, Mark, is it too late? My question to you, Mark, is Trump going to follow your advice? My question to you, Mark, is what is Trump sort of skyrocketing back up in approval rating? What does that signal exactly?
Well, it's 46% today. It was 44% yesterday. To be honest, there is noise in these things. It swings all over the place. It's also December coming up on Christmas. I really think we're going to need to see into January what this looks like. My advice for them would be like, let's just pump the brakes a little, have some Christmas parties and come out of January swinging strong. And it should be a plan. And to be honest with you, like, they are doing the right things. Blowing up narco boats is the right things. Deporting a ton of illegal aliens is the right things. Like suing corporations who have been hiring non-domestic workers because of diversity reasons, that's the right things. Like, we should be doing more of that. But in my opinion, it's very, very, very much a leadership thing. In 2016, the bar was basically super low, and this was a different America. In my opinion, like, we are on the cusp of a civil war. Like, the polling has said that 43% of America thinks a civil war or revolution is likely. The number one problems facing America, the number one enemy, like, we've asked this question, I think I've said it on your show. When you ask people who America's number one enemy is, depending on the poll, the number one is either China or the Democrat Party, and then the number two is the Republican Party. Like, that's not how it should be. And 90% of America is concerned about political violence. Tons of people are concerned about corporations, like the numbers in the 80s. Like, people, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, we are very, 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 very low down in a way that we were not in 2016. And so when Trump came in and he did like chaos Trump, throw a lot of stuff at the wall, see what sticks, redirect everybody, baffle with BS, that worked. And it was great because he accrued a list of accomplishments, and everybody was like, oh my, look, somebody in the government's actually accomplishing something. We needed an outsider all this time. Well, then we had like the iron boot of, Joe Biden, the authoritarian control leftists who literally, gave trillions to the rest of the world and to all his cronies. Like, I mean, it was bad. We didn't hire any domestic workers. We outsourced even more jobs. We crushed everybody with this inflation. America needs something different. This was a referendum on government trust. Only 30% trust the federal government going into this Trump election. So now I think that what we need is a wartime leader. This is very different. This is essentially, in my opinion, a war. And leadership needs to fill a vacuum and be single-threaded. Show people with leadership control and intention that we are going after a specific enemy, and name what that enemy is, or what even you're fighting for. I said this to Trump too, sir. I said, I think one of the reasons you won was the powerful optics at the Butler rally. And he said, fight, fight, fight. But like, for what? For who? Who are we fighting? Like, nobody ever said. And I think a lot of people projected stuff onto that. And I said, how about the fight, fight, fight plan for Americans? Be very specific what we're fighting for here. And every single thing out of the White House needs to be passed through that filter. This is because we're fighting for Americans. And it's like, okay, they're moving in the right direction. Make America affordable again. I guess it's kind of getting there. But the stuff that he's still doing, which is like, it's probably not time to rant against Pam Bondi on True Social anymore. It just isn't. And if this means like pumping the brakes and being, I hate to use the word, a little more presidential. Like, if we are fighting an existential enemy here, like, let's have a big speech about it and tell America, let's have a gut check. Let's draw a line in the sand. Let's like man up and fight this battle. And what is this battle against? Who is this battle? Well, I think it's against, the non-voter interests. And who are they? Well, they're literally everybody in Washington, D.C. You got to fight the oligarchy, not be the oligarchy, because Bernie Sanders is already running against the oligarchy. And you know what? It's like, you bought it. You're the oligarchy now, unless you're fighting them too. That's the horseshoe. And JD Vance knows it. He understands the horseshoe theory of politics. This is not about right or left anymore. It's about fixing the system. And you're either going to watch the Democrat socialists fix it, or you're going to fix it yourself. And Republicans don't want to fix it. They're totally comfortable down there. That's the feeling I got. Like, I went down and gave a speech in front of a organization that is supposedly the young conservative firebrands. None of them are fighting the info war. I can tell you that right now. Politics seems like politics as usual among Republicans in Washington, D.C. They're very insulated. They don't understand what's going on the internet. They don't understand, as Nick Fuentes followers would say, like what time it is. And again, these people want Trump to like break rules and ignore judges and impeach people and throw people in jail. And I understand it's hard, but if you can't do that, in my opinion, you got to think like the leftists. And what would leftists do if they couldn't arrest, throw people in jail? They'd at least get the charges out there. They would indict them. They would get the evidence out. If the judicial system is so corrupt that we can't hold anybody in Washington, D.C. accountable, then we have to burn the judicial system down. The only way to do that is to show everybody how corrupt it is, not scream into the internet in the ether about, you know what I mean? It's like that. I think that's where we're at, because none of these people are going to get indicted. There's a massive list. I just had a tweet that's going completely viral right now. The Republican Senate Oversight Committee and the Republican Senate Armed Services Committee are investigating somebody. You know who they're investigating? They're investigating Pete Hegseth for killing narcos, which is what Americans love. They're like, sweet, let's blow up more of those boats. The Republicans are like, no. We got to pump the brakes. They might be violating the law here. Oh, it's like, okay, what about the laptop from hell? What about like Seth Rich? Like, read them off. Like, there's a list of literally 100 of these. You could keep going. You could look at like Reddit's on there. We had Reddit in front of the House Oversight Committee. I don't think a single hard question was asked. Epstein, obviously, CCP spying. No, we can't endanger big college. Well, we asked this question and it's like, hey, the Trump administration has these student visas. Should we cut back on that, even if it means colleges will go out of business? And Republicans were like, almost 3-1. Yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't we do that? Sure. We would love to shut colleges down. So this is the cognitive dissonance. And Trump can like throw red meat to his base, can jangle the keys a little bit, and we'll be able to whip up some supporters. But at the end of the day, if they don't deliver on this stuff, I'm going to be in the gulag and Republicans are going to be a laughing stock for a generation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you get this kind of sweeping mandate, you have to use it. You have to use it, and then you have to champion how you used it and tell people that their vote wasn't wasted, and tell people that you're going to do more of it. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at right now and saying, we understand that there have been wars ended, 8 wars ended, FIFA, okay, the world is now moving to nominate Trump for a peace prize. That's great, but like, our household is what America First is about. And this is, I think this is the make or break, do or die moment, where you need to prove that to the American people through a series of rock solid policies for us. Mark, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much. We have Harmeet Dillon from the DOJ on, so maybe we'll ask her about breaking some of those rules. She's suing a lot of people. But thank you, Mark. If you want to follow the single most accurate pollster in the world, I'll say it, and I think that Rich Barris, who's also our dear friend, would probably agree with us. Please follow Mark Mitchell right here. Mark, your following has skyrocketed, dude. Way to go. Nearly 150,000 subscribers. Mark Mitchell, the single most accurate pollster in America, and somebody who, at the very least, has a good faith take, clear-eyed, and gives us the truth. Thank you, Mark. We need more of that.
Thanks, Benny. Yeah, we still have a sword of Damocles hanging over our head, and it's not going to be better until it's gone.
Godspeed, Mark. Merry Christmas, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Harmeet Dillon getting set right now. We look forward to asking her actually about a little bit of that. That raised my blood pressure a bit. 120 Life is how I lower my blood pressure. 120 Life is a blend of 5 all-natural ingredients that naturally lower your blood pressure. I have high blood pressure, have always had high blood pressure. But this week and this year, and I got to tell you, through like everything we've been through, it's been through the roof. I'm looking for good ways to manage that. A lot of time outside in the sun, time playing with my children and being with my family, exercise, eating right, and this is part of it. 120 Life. Hundreds and thousands of medical professionals recommend it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is exactly what you need during the holiday season when stress is an all-time high. So go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use my code Benny for 20% off. Try it right now. Code Benny at 120life.com. 20% off your order today. They're also very, very tasty. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who is here, I don't know if she has her crochet needles with her or not, her knitting needles with her or not, but I can tell you this, she is needling the deep state and some very corrupt states right now and has some big announcements for our show. The great Harmeet Dillon from the Department of Justice, live now. Harmeet, welcome back to the program. You do have one of your sweaters on. This is great.
I do.
Oh,
I made
God.
this sweater. It's a very complicated one. I'm very proud of the sweater, but it has the doves of peace, so I thought that was appropriate for the holiday party season.
Okay, well, that's great. I mean, wouldn't even know where to begin. It's a beautiful sweater, and we saw you did a beautiful thing this week, suing more states, I believe it was 6 Democrat states, for refusing to give you voter roll information. Can you talk us through this critical element of your tenure here in Civil Rights Division?
Yes, well, thank you, Benny, for having me. This is a real passion of this DOJ and this president is cleaning up the voter rolls throughout the United States. And so we're kind of in the middle of our march through the country. And here's what we've found. So 4 states have cooperated with my request to turn over the voter rolls so that we can help them clean them, compare the data with our accurate data about citizenship and deaths. And then we have pending resolutions with 12 states. Texas just signed a agreement with us to turn over their voter rolls, and we're thankful for that. I sued and settled with North Carolina. They're cleaning up 100,000 inaccurate voter registrations and making sure those people are citizens. And then I've sued 14 states in 15 lawsuits, sued California twice because they refuse to turn over their voter rolls. And I also have a delegation of Republican secretaries of state coming to me. They just sent me a lengthy letter with their serious concerns about turning over the voter rolls. So this is a bipartisan problem, to be very frank. And I don't know why any secretary of state who's trying to do their job correctly would want to withhold the voter rolls from the federal government that can help them do their jobs, which frankly, they're not doing. I will get through all 50 states. This is a top priority. There are going to be a few more lawsuits filed even later this week. And this is just, I mean, you can't have a country where people rely on the elections if you don't have clean voter rolls. This is so basic, and yet it has never been done by the United States Department of Justice. And so I'm really proud to be the first to do it.
So what have you been finding?
Well, so far what we found, and to be clear, some of these states are doing this voluntarily now after we started this process. 47.5 million records have been checked against the federal database at USCIS, and that's the Customs and Immigration Service. And we have found 260,000 dead people on the voter rolls so far, as well as thousands of non-citizens, both legal and illegal immigrants. And so now we're chasing those down, that latter category, to see if they voted. And if they voted and broke the law, we're working with local and our local federal law enforcement as well to bring charges against people who intentionally broke our laws by voting when they were not citizens entitled to vote in federal elections. And you can probably surmise that the states that are withholding the voter rolls from me right now, and they've all been asked, they must have a bigger problem. I mean, these are a lot of blue states, a lot of high population states, California, of course, New York, Illinois, these are the big states. I think we're going to see much higher numbers when we're done with this process.
So wait a second, that's huge news. So we went from just seems like a few hours ago, Democrats insisting and shrieking at the top of their lungs that there's no such thing as voter fraud. There certainly is no such thing as criminal aliens voting in our election, to you saying from your position at the DOJ, having cross-referenced all of the records, that perhaps thousands, maybe tens of thousands, who knows the set number, but like that we may have that many illegals voting and rigging our elections?
Well, they're on the voter rolls. So then the next question is, and that could happen through shoddy DMV paperwork. Of course, I don't think anyone who's here illegally should have a driver's license. I think that's ridiculous in and of itself, but that's how folks get on there. And there may also be some nefarious behavior by these NGOs that try to get people onto the voter rolls. So the next question is, did they vote? And so we will track that down. Those records are available. But again, when you see red states and blue states trying to hide this information from the Department of Justice, it really raises red flags. And now I really wonder how rampant this problem is even in red states. And so we're going to find out, Benny.
Here's a red state right here, the state of Michigan. President Trump won it twice. President Trump won this state in spite of the fact that we know as a matter of fact from the DOJ that communist Chinese nationals voted in the election. Their votes counted. Can't imagine who they voted for, Harmeet. And they said, well, too bad. Then the Chinese national, even though they were on a detainer, was able to flee back to China. Able to use a fake passport and get back to China and never to be seen again and never be held accountable for their fake votes. And so how rampant was this? I mean, listen, if some student from the Chinese Communist Party was able to do it so easily here in the state, the swing state, critical swing state of Michigan that was won by like a whisker, really begs the question, how big is this problem? Is this actually something that is coordinated throughout major swing states? And as we have tracked many times, Harmeet, these swing states are often major NGO operational arenas for bringing in criminal aliens.
Right.
Is this the reason?
Georgia is one of the states that this week told me to go pound sand and is not going to give me their voter data. So we will be suing Georgia to get that information. And, so swing states are actually the big problem. But the narrative from the left has been, first, there is no such fraud. It's impossible for people to get on the rolls if they're here illegally. And so what if some dead people are on there? Someone would have to commit fraud to vote those. Well, that does happen, of course, as we both know. But secondly, now they've moved the goalposts to, well, there's only a little bit of fraud, or it doesn't really matter, or what's the big deal? It is a big deal if any single vote dilutes the vote of an American citizen. When you and I go to the polls, an election can be won or lost by a single vote, and we are all entitled to know that our votes are being counted only and equally with only American citizens. And we will do that at this DOJ, provided courts don't stand in the way. I'm prepared to take this all the way to the United States Supreme Court if necessary.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, what about mandatory voter ID? And I constantly tell Republican senators and members of Congress that are on my show, like, you can't find a issue that is more beloved by the majority of the American people. You're talking about a 90-10 issue here based on every single poll. Here's just one of them. It says mandatory voter ID for the country. I mean, this is just obvious. In your home state, your beloved state of California, where you go whale watch off those beautiful cliffs, there is a campaign right now in order to get voter ID on the ballot. What are you finding in California? Do you think that's going to pass? Do you think that there's, like, what would be it would have to be an act of Congress, right, in order to get mandatory voter ID throughout the country?
Well, so let's break that down. First of all, definitely a state can pass voter ID. There have been attempts in the past, and some are still ongoing, to try to block those measures. But increasingly, like just earlier this year, the United States Department of Justice, my office, supported Wyoming's voter ID law, which then the court agreed was legal. So states are being able to do this on their own. But I have testified in Congress and spoken privately to many members of Congress about these issues. And I think that Congress could pass a law that tied the federal funding support for federal elections to certain minimum standards of election integrity, including but not limited to clean voter rolls, voter ID, and some other measures that I won't, the technical measures. Now, like we've had in the past, sort of speed laws and seatbelt laws, where the federal government didn't mandate it, but they said, we're not going to give you federal funding to maintain your highways if you don't do this. And then every state kind of whipped into line and did it. And so I think that is something that could be done, but they're not doing it. And I mean, I won't shame the Republicans who told me, oh, Harmeet, we can't do it for X, Y, and Z reason, but you can surmise there's some of the same ones who pound on the table and shout at the cameras and get hog the most attention on networks. They're the same ones who privately won't do the needful. And so it is irritating, but I'm going to do the needful in the DOJ. We're going to use the Attorney General's power to at least clean up the voter rolls, and then we'll go from there.
What have you been finding with California? Obviously, this is one of the states that will not willingly give you its voter roll data.
Yeah, we have 2 lawsuits pending there. One is against Orange County, and one is against the whole state. And we're just back and forth in motions. We argued the case. I think one of my colleagues argued the case earlier this week, Monday maybe, up about their motion to dismiss. And I think we're using for the first time the Federal Civil Rights Act provision that gives the Attorney General the right to demand this data. She doesn't have to give a reason. And the states are all making hand-wringing excuses. Oh, the federal government can't keep data secure, and there's a privacy issue. How can the Social Security numbers, last four of the social, be private from the federal government that issues them? I think everyone is a full-blown panic over here about what we're going to find. And so I think eventually we're going to win these cases, all of them, and people are going to be scandalized that for years and decades, many, many, many people have voted in our elections who had no right to, and violated the civil rights of you, me, and every other citizen who follows the law.
That's exactly right. Okay. It's a fascinating subject matter, something that obviously everybody in our audience cares so much about. We covered very briefly in the open here that Republicans may be able to get a few extra seats in redistricting if the civil rights, is it Article 2 subsection that gets struck down potentially at the Supreme Court for redistricting and or gerrymandering based on Americans' skin color, which is crazy that we're still doing that. But we are in a lot of southern states. Can you please update us on where that is pending?
Sure. Well, let me break that down for you. First of all, there is a partisan redistricting that's happening right now in several states. As you know, Texas's new map just got upheld by the court. And my colleagues are arguing the California case next week. I'm recused from that because my old law firm filed the original lawsuit. And then it's happening in Missouri, just won. A judge just rejected an attempt to invalidate their new maps. And so this is unusual in the United States because normally the redistricting occurs just by custom after the census. But first of all, the census doesn't have to be only every 10 years. It has to be a minimum of every 10 years. And redistricting can be whenever a state decides to do it. And so I think you're going to see this happening on both sides, and hopefully a net gain or a net loss for whoever. I mean, I'm going to stay out of the politics of that. But secondly, on the Voting Rights Act, this is a very important case argued before the United States Supreme Court, where I and my colleagues here in DOJ authored an amicus brief. And that case is called Louisiana versus Calais. And you were correct that, first of all, for many years, the Voting Rights Act compelled certain states, southern states, to go through for any changes to their maps involving minority districts, they had to go through Department of Justice review. That was struck down in the Shelby County case several years ago, and Justice Thomas's opinion articulates why, and he's skeptical that any race-based gerrymandering is constitutional. That became clear in very animated arguments before the court, that I think several justices are skeptical that race-based gerrymandering is, first of all, necessary today, and second of all, is it even legal? And I think if I were to bet, I would say that hopefully among the first cases issued by the court opinions of this term, hopefully February, March timeframe, is going to be striking down the racial gerrymandering that previously the court has said was mandated under the Voting Rights Act. And what that will mean is it's going to mean good and bad things for Republicans and Democrats. Republicans have been used in an old regime of where the assumption was that African Americans or Latinos are all going to vote for Democrats. They've been used to safe districts right next to the Democrat or Democrat minority gerrymandered districts. If everyone has to compete for all the votes, which I think is frankly the American way, people are going to scramble. Some Republicans are going to lose their seats. Some Democrats are going to lose their seats. But we will have a fairer regime where we are not segregating people based on race, such an outdated and frankly repugnant and un-American concept.
Yes, completely. And this is something that obviously is not going to be sustainable. It's indefensible. We listened to some of the arguments. It was wild. I don't want to retread all of this, but like Ketanji Brown Jackson just made a complete ass of herself in these arguments, and it was nonsensical. And some of the arguments, am I remembering this correctly? Went like, we need to compare black voters to the ADA, to like handicap voters in these districts. It was farcical and quite frankly insulting when you listened to the defense of this. So hopefully they do strike it down.
I hope so. I mean, the assumption has just continued to be, you look at the state of Texas, where Latinos get elected as Republicans. I mean, again, that's the American way. That's great. And so the assumption that, oh, we have to do this because all people of a certain skin color vote alike, let's pack them into a district that is like a snake running across a highway. It's just silly and outdated. I can't wait to see that next wave happen soon.
The voters in Louisiana will love you for this. I think the voters in Louisiana will also love you for your Second Amendment new working group inside of the Civil Rights Division. You announced your new 2A section of civil rights. This is obviously something that is very new and fresh to the MAGA movement, America First Republican Party, because we're used to seeing the Civil Rights Division being used to attack our Second Amendment rights and rights to self-defense. It's been used constantly for the last 70 years to do just that. Can you explain what's happening now in this new division?
I'm so excited about this development as a passionate firearms owner myself, and my law firm had a lot of clients in that space as well. So we've argued these cases in court before I got to the DOJ, and I joined other patriots here in the DOJ who are interested in this. And so now we have not just a working group, an official section of the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division dedicated to enforcing our Second Amendment rights. And so what does that mean? I've already had a trip, my team has already had a trip to Congress to explain to Democrats why we need this. And we need it because despite the Bruin decision of the Supreme Court 3 years ago, which said that states and cities shall issue CCW permits, concealed carry permits, to law-abiding citizens, they aren't. California has already been sued by my department for dragging their heels in Los Angeles. There's a 3-year waiting period between the time that you apply and the time that you get it. Other jurisdictions make you pay multi-thousand-dollar fees just to apply for a CCW permit. Others have these laws, like here in DC, you can't take a firearm into a restaurant where alcohol might be served, and there are other sensitive area regulations that are so onerous that they virtually eliminate the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment. And yet there are other cases, like in the case in Illinois that I argued, the amicus brief of the United States, where they have this elaborate so-called assault weapons ban that includes the most popular rifle in the United States, the AR-15, as well as innumerable accessories that are, in our view and the view of Clarence Thomas and other justices, clearly constitutional because they're popular, they're widely used, and they're not used for military or esoteric or criminal purposes by the average American citizen. We also have a similar case in Hawaii. So we actually already have been super active, I would say more active on Second Amendment issues than any other Department of Justice in history. And we haven't even crossed a year in office. So stay tuned. This is going to be super exciting. I do need more attorneys to help us do these jobs. So I hope someone will see this and apply to us to work to do the voting stuff and the DEI dismantling, Second Amendment, and all the other work that we do here.
Could you please give the best place to apply Harmeet, as of course we encourage you to follow Harmeet here on social media. This is her official DOJ handle. She has nearly 200,000 subscribers here. What would be the best way to apply?
So for the job front, you just go to usajobs.gov and search DOJ and Civil Rights Division, and we have a number of job openings there. And people can also reach out to me or through friends or whatever, get to me somehow, and we will make sure that our team gets right on it. We are interviewing people, hiring people. As you can imagine, the folks who worked here before, who quit en masse, I think I've talked about this on your show before, they're super unhappy that we're doing novel, innovative, and yes, pro-liberty things here at the Civil Rights Division. And, you know, we do want to fill those jobs up and make sure that we're doing as much as we can for all Americans.
If you wish to preserve the republic, and if you wish for a strong constitution and strong individual liberties, join the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ, Harmeet Dillon, doing God's work. We are laser focused on securing our elections and are so thankful that at least one person in Washington, D.C. actually cares about that. And she's on live right now. Please follow her right here. Harmeet, Godspeed and Merry Christmas.
Thanks for having me, Benny. Merry Christmas to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have in the bullpen, on deck, one of our all-time favorites, Tim Burchett, who has some breaking news for us out of the swamp. It has been just one of those mornings where you need your coffee. There has been a lot going on this program and throughout the nation as we gear up for the midterms. Blackout coffee is what fills our cup every single morning. It is brewed in my home, but it is made and roasted right here in Florida, not too far from where I live. I know the patriots who make this coffee. They love this country, and they want this country to stay great. You should support their business for that reason alone. But also, if you use the code Benny, you can get 20% off Blackout coffee today. Hard work, American values, and coffee that actually tastes like real coffee. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Premium small batch roasted coffee for hardworking Americans that need the energy to fight the communists. Speaking of fighting the communists, or at the very least, revealing the truth about them, is the great Tim Burchett, who is fresh off of a brand new selfie video that he's become quite famous for, saying the gloves are coming off. And this is why I think giving the Taliban $45 million of your money every single week is a bad idea. Did you even know that that was happening? Tim Burchett is one of those guys that can just expose this darkness, and he's on live right now. Oh, Congressman, welcome back, and Merry Christmas to you. We hope and pray that we'll get a Tim Burchett skateboard one of these Christmases. I'd really like to learn how to do that. I don't know how to skateboard, and I think that'd be something enjoyable to practice during the Christmas holiday break that we have.
Thank you, Benny.
Sure.
Very politically incorrect Merry Christmas to you too, brother. We celebrate the birth of our Savior. So thank you. And I want to say something too publicly. I understand you're catching some grief from a lot of dirt bags. And, that's what they do to us. The devil, whoever, you're over the dadgum target. You are causing real change in this country. When it's not just some random young folks, it's seniors and stuff. They've, them old country boys. I seen you on that Benny show, and the young folks love you, and for good reason. You're a good man. You got a beautiful family. And these dirt bags that attack us, it's just unfair to the families. That's something that we all try to shield and protect, and I do as well. So we've been sent the same arrows and things at us, and they're from the same types of dirt bags. So thank you, brother. You're in my prayers.
You judge people by their enemies, right? And you never get punished for telling lies. You only get punished for speaking the truth. The truth will set you free, and that's why so many people don't like what you say on this program, Congressman. And there's nobody who's spoken more brutal and honest truths in Washington, D.C. than you. And I guess we're starting to see a little bit of that happening with a larger conversation about two subjects I'd like to talk about right now. One, the D.C. pipe bomber. How does that investigation smell to you? And then two, the Taliban. Why are we funding so many terrorists? Maybe we could extrapolate that to Ilhan Omar, Al-Shabaab, Somalia, and so on. So, why don't we start with the pipe bomber?
Let's do that.
We talked about that all day. All day yesterday. We've been following that as closely as possible, trying to figure out what the hell's going on there.
Well, Cash and Dan have been taking a lot of heat on that. They've had it for 9 months. Biden had it for 4 years. They leaked out that it was a female member of the Republican Party Congress. I mean, all this garbage was out. They could never find it. And then what they do, they went back and reviewed the information they had, and then they found this guy who obviously doesn't fit the bill of what they wanted it to be. They wanted it to be a right-winger that was pro-Trump, and it turned out it's just the exact opposite. And that's why you and I may be the only people talking about it today, because it doesn't fit that left-wing narrative. The whole thing stinks. It stinks of a cover-up. It stinks of those many layers of the onion that we keep, you and I have talked about peeling back. And I've said many times that I wish we could just fire everybody at our alphabet agencies and then rehire them, as would seem a lot better, except for the fact that we would lose continuity and national security type risks and things. So, I mean, this thing goes so dadgum deep, and I know people are frustrated. I'm not happy with Miss Bondi, of course. I haven't been. I've always made that public, but that's the hand we're dealt. So I think it stinks from the start. I think it was inept, and if it's either corrupt or it's inept or a combination thereof, of why it wasn't brought to a head until now. But we've got the right people on it. But again, I think it's going to go away in the press, and we've got to keep it in the forefront. And I think we need a hearing. I hate hearings, but I do think we need a hearing to find out what the chain of command was on it and why this thing was kind of dismissed.
I want to put something up for you, Congressman, which is something remarkable out of Barry Loudermilk's committee that shows documentation from 2021, the FBI saying that they have an individual, a suspect identified, who followed the exact path of the pipe bomber. They got multiple pings from their cell phone, and that they identified who this individual was. They even retracted the name. Fast forward to today, it's the exact same FBI, except for they've eliminated that redaction, and now you can see that it's just the same evidence. They just knew exactly who it was. I mean, it's dead to rights. This is a line for line copy of what they had in 2021. So what the hell's going on here?
I'll tell you what's going on. The same thing that went on. Remember when they found the cocaine in the White House, and we're down there in the skiff, and then they tell us, well, it's not actually confidential what they're telling us. They've got it down to less than 200 people, and we're stopping the investigation right now. And those poor FBI agents or whatever they were, I could tell, I could read them like a book. Man, they were disgusted, and they were ashamed, and they were forced. The guys, I guess, drew the last straw and had to go down there and brief Congress, because I lit them up like a freaking 4th of July sparkler. And this was just pathetic. And then I walked out and just busted their ass in the press. And it went away pretty fast. That bag of cocaine, if you remember, it had legs on it. It walked from one area to an area that had no cameras, the only area in the most secure building, not in Washington, D.C., not in the country, but in the dadgum world, the only area that didn't have a camera that they would lock up something in, and how they'd found it in a locked box. I mean, the whole thing just stunk. And again, so much time has traveled between now and then, it will never know the story, but I think we all kind of figured out who could get into that White House without going through security. And it was very limited, mostly to family members of the president. So you've got a real problem in these organizations. And this is exactly what, there's the diagram. It shows it.
People think it's one bag of cocaine. It was multiple bags of cocaine in the private residences of the White House.
Absolutely. And now you've got an FBI and a CIA that have been just beaten down, because most of those guys are like me and you. They're patriotic, red-blooded Americans, men and women, and they want to serve our country. But now it's infiltrated with these left-wing ideologues, DEI hires, and what have you. And it's just going to take some time to get through it. And that's why this investigation into the pipe bomber has just really, they've fumbled it until now. And then you see my buddy Barry Loudermilk. I mean, he's on it like a cheap suit, man. He is on it tight and snug, and it's making some people uncomfortable. Again, there'll be a diversion. This will go away, and you will never hear about it. It's not a swamp; it's a sewer. And we've got to be vigilant. This is not just going to cure itself under 9 months of Trump.
Yeah. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the midterms and what's going on inside of the Republican caucus. I'm sure that you have a fresh take for us on that. But final question on this pipe bomber. Like, are we going to get Stephen D'Antonio and some of the people that were in charge of this? Should they be dragged in front of the committee? I think that what most people are asking is, how is it possible that some degenerate spectrum-y, autistic, loner, doesn't have any friends, didn't speak to anybody.
Always a loner. Always
Yep.
a loner. They never, no contact. Remember they said that about
Thomas Crooks,
yeah,
Tyler Robinson,
no
is
internet
the
presence.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, parents didn't know what he was doing, didn't know that, same deal. Same deal. It's always follows the pattern. Again, I say this a lot and I get labeled a lot, but I think you've got organizations that they were sued for it once before. I've had this conversation. I think it was the CIA was sued. They said, "Oh, we don't do mind control, all that stuff." Then they got in a lawsuit and they got their butts sued. And then they said, "Well, we do it. We did it, but we don't do it anymore." So were you lying then? Or you lying now? Or you still lying? Which I think they're still lying. And they put this garbage out to and through the way that the airwaves on the internet. It's pretty simple how they do it, and they target these individuals. And I think that's how they do it. I think they expect this thing to happen, and somebody is pumping this garbage out. So these people think that they can get by with this stuff. And the guy almost did. I mean, he almost did. If the shooter had hit President Trump and killed him, we'd have Kamala Harris in the White House, and it'd be unicorns and rainbows everywhere, and nobody'd be talking about this, or they would. You'd be shouted down as a racist or whatever.
Yeah, or taken off the internet, which is exactly what they're going to do if they win back the House and the presidency. That's
100%.
precisely where it's going. Okay, so you see just as a follow-up to that, you see a trend here with Matthew Thomas Crooks, Tyler Robinson.
You're going to see more of it.
Brian
You're not
Cole.
going to see less of it. You're going to see more of it. And that's why people like you and me have to be very cautious.
I mean, we have these articles where just for the viewer's sake, I mean, Matthew Thomas Crooks, they, them, pronouns into the furry community, into these online degenerate communities. Same thing with Tyler Robinson with his transgender furry boyfriend. Same thing with the brony pipe bomber. We call him the Steve Urkel bomber. It's an archetype, like a degenerate spectrum-y loner that is then somehow just snaps and commits horrific acts of violence that change culture, always directed at Republicans. Seems a little too convenient for me.
Yeah. I was at a breakfast this morning and a doctor was talking about how 25 years ago, transgender was just it was statistical anomaly. I mean, it was not even measurable. And today, 3%, 4% of kids in public education identify with it. It's because of the computer. It's the algorithm that picks this stuff up. I'm a born again Christian. I'm not a good one, but I try to be. But it's the devil. I mean, this is demonic, and we've got people that understand this and that use it for their benefit.
Yeah,
power control. That's all in Washington D.C. is, brother. It is about power, and I am not suicidal, for the record.
They hate the families, man. That's part of the attacks against us. They hate families. They hate happy families. They hate functional families. They hate Erica Kirk for the same reason.
Yeah, they hate Charlie. They hated Charlie. They hate Erica. They hate you.
Right.
For it.
It's the same thing. It's demon energy. It really is. And Christians.
That's why I don't put not anymore. I put my donkeys out there. I mean, I don't put my family out there anymore because some deviant dirtbag says something, and then you've got this bunch up here that doesn't have enough guts to help me go after them.
That's right.
Some guy saying some really vile, awful things, and then I get under the previous administration anyway. I get told, well, we don't see that as a threat. Really? Well, what the hell did it just say? So anyway, sorry.
No, I mean, and it's been escalating. There are multiple people that are in prison right now for threatening to kill my family.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. But like, what if you don't have a Republican DOJ? Well, for all of its faults, if you don't have an FBI that actually cares about this kind of stuff, that views assassination culture as a means to an end, then, I mean, we're all dead.
Yeah. Our friend Matt Gaetz, when he was here, he had a guy that was in California that threatened to kill him. And then he actually moved across the country. He moved to Washington, D.C. and was still threatening him. And we couldn't get the authorities wouldn't even look at it. They said it's not a real threat. And then finally he did cross the line somehow and they popped him. But, you're exactly right. And there are two sets of justice up here. And when Democrats were in control, you'd see the squad. They'd be 3 deep with security, have a black Suburban driving them around.
That's right. Yeah.
Hell, I'm getting accosted out here on the street corner by these anti-Semitic groups yelling at me, threatening me, getting in my face, pushing me. And I couldn't even get Capitol Police to come out of their air-conditioned comfort. So, it's the world we live in. We better start accepting it. And again, America didn't vote for Congress. They vote overwhelmingly. They voted for Trump overwhelmingly, and we better figure that out pretty quick. We're going to lose this country.
Yeah. What's your assessment? What do Republicans need to do beyond, obviously, transparency on some of these issues, everything from Epstein to the pipe bomber? But what is you saw President Trump lock into midterm mode. You have a better connection with the American people and the MAGA base than I think possibly any member of Congress. How do Republicans keep the House? How do Republicans win in the midterm?
It's a structural problem, Benny. I think, can't speak for the Senate. I don't know Thune that well. I mean, he calls me by my name. I'm sure he's got a bouncer or a handler that says, "Oh, that's Tim Burchett right there. Say hello to him." "Oh, hey, Tim." But I feel like a lot of folks are undermined. I think you've got staffers in key spots that are crooked. I think they're in bed literally or figuratively with lobbyists, and they kill very good pieces of legislation. That's why you see study committees or they're going to study this bill for a year and then it magically goes away. I think that's part of the design because they want to undermine Trump. Ultimately, they hate him because he is cutting off their money. And the Taliban bill, which I'll talk about in a minute, exactly, this proves my point. Actually, I've talked about this a lot, and you and I have talked about it. But you have a staff. These committees are so big. I mean, I serve on one committee that I know of has at least 50 staffers on the Republican side. So you've got that on the Democrat side. You've got a great piece of legislation. It's not going anywhere. You go to the committee and say, "What's going on?" The chairman, they said, "Well, talk to this staffer. It's under their purview." You go in this office, and generally some of them are pretty arrogant, and it's kind of scary. An unelected bureaucrat who's sitting back there and no name, no face. Nobody knows who they are except in this little world we live in, this little microcosm. And they've got the ear of a lobbyist, a paid lobbyist, who's probably taking them out for drinks, steak dinner. Maybe they went on to Codell, to some fancy place, Qatar or Qatar or whatever, or I don't know, Myrtle Beach. So lobbyists has got their ear. Something shady's going on there. And they come to him and say, "Hey man, we can't have this bill. It's going to kill us." And so what do? Staff says, "Well, let's study this bill for a year and then come back with a report and force Congress to do that." And as good as I do, Congress, our attention span is 30. We want our pizzas like our attention span, brother. It's 30 minutes or less. And we've moved on to another bright, shiny object, some other calamities in the press that we're passing legislation on that will absolutely do nothing for us. And that is the problem, the structure. And it's so big, you've got speakers and people in leadership, and people are undermining them. And you got to remember, most members of Congress think they're going to be the next speaker or want to be the next speaker. So in their mind, they don't want this speaker to succeed, and that they want to undermine them at whatever level they're going to be able to do that. And so that's you combine all that together, and that's why nothing happens. And you've got to have somebody that is not running for re-election that wants to be the dadgum speaker and would just come in and just clean this trash can out, or it will never change. And it'll do the same thing under the Democrats. And except with their Marxist agenda, we could lose everything. And it's very short-sighted. I think people want this speaker to fail so that they can run the minority party for 4 years or whatever, and then take back the majority, and then they will be the speaker and they will do what's right. Mm-hmm. And I just, that gets me in trouble every time I say stuff like that. But that's my opinion. And that's why I'm still the 435th most powerful member of Congress. Will never be a chairman. Yes. And I raise the big money because the big boys, they try to shut me out every dadgum election, brother. You look at all and that's cool. I don't want to owe them a dadgum thing, but I want to. And so I want to talk about the Taliban bill.
Please.
So there's a guy in the Senate who is a staffer. His name is Tom West. And this is what I think. This is my opinion. He was a former, I believe, ambassador to Afghanistan. Under our friend Tulsi Gabbard, he was denied his security clearance, I believe. So because of his cozy relationship with the Taliban. Now he is the, it's not foreign affairs in the Senate, it's called foreign relations. They have relations, we have affairs in the House. We're foreign affairs. But it's
because Eric Swalwell's in the House.
Knew what?
It's because Eric Swalwell's in the House.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, but I digress. But it's my opinion that this is the guy that's probably derailing our bill, and that's why $45 million still flows. And all this money is, if the Taliban gets their hands on it, it's flowing into our enemies' hands and it'll be used to kill Americans. But nobody cares as long as they're getting fat off of it. And it scares the daylights out of me, because you see that deal with the Somalis over in Minnesota. Yep. That's the tip of the iceberg, dude. That's all over this country. And that is exactly what Elon Musk told me. He said, Tim, they've got these things, these NGOs set up. Some billionaire puts $1 million in, which is hard for me to imagine. That's like the change in their dadgum ashtrays or in their cushions. And they got a fund, and it looks good on paper, and some unelected bureaucrat and one of these staffers says, yeah, this is a good organization. They've got money. Let's fund them. And Elon said, it's probably over $1 trillion that has done this. And these things, like every other government, like immigration, like everything else, was probably started off, it had good intentions. But the thieves in Washington saw it, and they can't keep their dadgum greedy little fingers off of it. And people will still, and I watch Twitter and I watch we'll primary their ass. Well, guess what? They got all the freaking money in the world until you put a candidate up. And that's another problem. We don't put good candidates in these things. We kill off the MAGA Republicans to put these moderates up, and our former leadership did that. And with this dark money stuff, we use it just like they do. It's all just crooked, and we gotta. And the Taliban thing is a perfect example that I was able to connect the dots. Again, it's my opinion that this guy's the one doing it. I can still have an opinion in this country, I believe, but I think that's what's going on, and I'm giving it to you first. So whatever you want to do with it, dadgum do it.
So you're saying that Republicans are employing somebody with Taliban connections and sympathies that couldn't even get a security clearance?
Well, he works for the Democrats. He was the ambassador to Afghanistan under Biden.
Perfect.
And so now that he can't get,
because that went great. That went amazing. Afghanistan under Biden was like huge success. Yeah. So let's make sure that all those people get jobs. Okay. So, and so that's the person who's holding up.
That's what I think. And he's not even elected. He's got their ear, and he had the reputation, for what I was told. He was very friendly with the Taliban, and that's why Tulsi yanked his security clearance, and dadgum, she should have. When you're out of office or out of the position, you should not keep that security clearance. That just, to me, is preposterous. I mean, become a lobbyist or a staffer or whatever and still have access to this stuff. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. Again, the system is broken, and we got to have somebody that comes in day one and does that. And that's the problem. Everybody, when they get elected to these big positions, it's just too much. You got to raise the money. You got to keep your people in power. You got so many egos you got to stroke, and you got to go to their districts and have a breakfast or a lunch and say, he's the best guy in Congress. I can't win without him. You got to reelect whoever. Reminds me, one time, I think Stevie Nicks came to Knoxville during the Dogwood Arts Parade, and she gave a concert. She might have not been totally with it. I'm not sure. And she said, hey, it's great to be here in Ohio, Cincinnati. I mean, the speaker goes around all these places, and dadgum, he never sleeps. And it's just part of the job. It's just too big, and the structure's broke, and it needs to scale it down. So
Elon Musk uncovering the amount of grift, graft, and corruption that funds both parties is why he was run out of DC. Is that your contention?
Correct. Apparently, Tom West's title was the former special representative to Afghanistan. So there you go. Yeah. And that's why Elon was run out of this dadgum town. 100%, 100%. It wasn't Trump. I mean, two biggest dogs in the pound, they're going to scuffle a little bit, but they've kissed and made up. And when I was sitting there with Elon, and I call him Elon because he told me to. We don't exchange Christmas cards or anything. He doesn't come to Knoxville and eat at the Mexon with me, but he struck a nerve, dude, and he really did. And they started, he didn't find $1 trillion. He only found $50 billion in waste. He's a fraud. I mean, I don't care if he found 50 dadgum cents. Finally, somebody started pointing something out so you guys could put it out there. And then I knew they would. They'd try to destroy him. And, he's just going to go back and, light up another bale of $100 bills to keep himself warm over the winter.
We had a pollster on just a few minutes ago who said that the single highest approval rating that Trump ever got was when Doge was at its absolute peak. And he wanted to run for the Doge chairman right now. Is there a way that we could resuscitate Doge? Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen is saying that is the highest approval rating Trump ever got, was when Doge was uncovering all of this fraud and was shutting it down.
100%. And I put my name in for chairman of that, but we'll see how it goes. I'm sure as I've said, I haven't endeared myself to leadership very much. And I said, they haven't endeared themselves to me that much. So, it's all leadership. They're going to make the call. That Trump doesn't make the call on this, unfortunately. And there's other people that are great. And I'm sure there's people they're grooming for leadership positions. I'm not, as you can see, I'm still in the same office I was 8 years ago. I haven't even moved up the chain in that deal. But I rocked the boat. And thank you, Benny, for letting me rock that boat. It's a pleasure being in the boat with you, dude. And
That's exactly right, man.
When I'm sure I'll be on the House floor today, and I'll get that. They'll come sit beside me on center row, and they'll shake their head, Burchett, man, you just can't keep saying this stuff. I'm going to say the same dadgum thing. I'm going to say, it's the truth, though, right? And they go, well, yeah, it's the truth. You just got to quit saying it.
Yeah. You only get attacked if you're doing good work. You only get attacked. The forces of darkness only attack you if you are actually doing the work. If you're building something, forces of darkness can only tear things down and destroy.
I'm going to put that on a skateboard. I'm going to put that on a skateboard, Benny. All right.
Only goodness can build. Only the light of God can build things and create things. God is the creator. And so you should judge people by that, right? And I think that's I think that's good. We actually have footage of you on a skateboard at our one of our last interviews. There you go. Look at this.
That's on carpet. I'm not very good on carpet.
Hey, okay. All right, Congressman, real fast, since this is a Christmas season and we want to celebrate, but I do have to bring you some really, really bad news, which is that you're going to be losing one of your favorite members of Congress. Jasmine Crockett has decided she's going to run for Senate. That means she has to give up her House seat and will no longer be serving with you in the House, no matter what, come this time next year. And so, what's your message to Jasmine?
Well, the good news is I'm trying to run for the U.S. Senate too at some point. I would love that opportunity. So maybe we'd get to be seat mates. But I just don't think the good people of Texas are gonna go that route. I just can't see that. Of course, if it wasn't for Tennessee, there wouldn't be a Texas, as I remind my brethren from Texas often of that. I just, she's entertaining, to say the least.
And you gave us an exclusive last week on shutting down all NGOs. How is that going?
It's going like you figured. You're going like you figured it would. People in both parties won't even give it a peep. And that's for obvious reasons. I mean, you got a guy's wife and girlfriend that work for these NGOs. What do you expect? And they're elected to Congress, or their husband does, or something. It's just, it's a sewer, man. And that's why Trump, again, I don't want Donald Trump teaching my daughter's dadgum Sunday school class, but dadgum, I love him in the White House, man. I hug his neck. because that's why he did all those executive orders, because he knows Congress doesn't have the guts to do it. I've got 20 of them out there right now in bill form. I can't even, what? Nobody's doing anything. We're gonna continue the process of not doing anything. And they cannot wait until the Democrats get in power again or Trump's out of office so that they can erase everything that he's done. And
you think there's sabotage that's happening right now in the House against President Trump?
I do 100%.
The neocons and the war hawks just want to destroy MAGA. They want Trump impeached. Sure. They want to hand the House to the Democrats and the Senate to the Democrats.
Sure. Again, he's ending war. He's over there. He's like 7 or 8. I don't know what the scorecard is now. And they're like, oh, he's not doing MAGA stuff. He's not in this country enough. The guy never sleeps, literally. I mean, he can control more from the golf course, I can assure you, than Joe Biden could underneath a dadgum umbrella at the beach while he was sleeping over there. So yeah, he's kicking ass and taking names, and they can't handle it. Dadgummit, I'm with him. Look, I don't get all caught up in all the personality stuff, and he doesn't call me, and I don't call him, and I don't get, he doesn't call me late at night and go, hey, Tim, what are you thinking? And I'm like, nothing, Mr. President, just watching History Channel, no. But hey, man, I go back to biblical stuff too. And this ticks people off. King David was a dirtbag, all right? He slept with Bathsheba, his best general's old lady, and then he had his best general killed. He drove the guy in and they pulled the troops back and got the guy killed. But God had his ear, and he had favor upon him. And that's why Israel remained Israel. And I think Trump ain't no saint. I mean, he's a freaking Yankee, all right? He has to deal with Teamsters up in New York all the time. And he talks rough and says things. Gosh, I go, ugh. But you know what? God has not wiped this country off the face of the map. And God had him turn his head 1/4 of an inch. And I firmly believe that. And I'll give you one last thing. This ain't biblical, but I always remind me of some old farmer up on the roof, and he's, tin roof, he's got his bib overalls on, and he starts to fall off. He says, Lord, help me, Lord. And then a nail grabs, and he goes, never mind, Lord, I got it. Well, that's us in America. God put that nail in there, and God had Trump move his head just a little bit, because Kamala Harris would have destroyed this country. And we just like that old farmer, when God helps us, we just push him away. Say, never mind, God, I got it. We better start listening to him, and we better start taking our dadgum country back. Sorry I went to preaching, Benny.
Oh, you know what? Preach. We could use a lot more of it. We're fighting the forces of darkness. It's pretty obvious. And they hate the family. They hate this country. They hate how this was founded. They want to refound America. And they would really love to naturalize 30 million criminal aliens, make D.C. a state, make Puerto Rico a state, strip this channel from the internet, crash all of our social media, put us all in jail. I mean, we're fighting true evil. And so I think people need to understand the stakes. So are they going to succeed? Are they going to succeed in throwing the House to the Democrats? In Republicans win?
I just don't think so. I just think America is going to say, going to hold our feet to the fire. I think Speaker Johnson's coming out with a decent plan on Obamacare, ACA, American Care, whatever.
Is that going to be reconciliation? Is that going to be a reconciliation bill?
Well, and people were critical of Trump. Again, the old chess player, Trump, I don't know if he plays chess or not, but he sure does with this country and politics. Now, he brought out that thing that says, I want to extend the credits for 2 years, and then let's talk about doing stuff. He's like, oh, man, we can't do 2 years. Everybody's freaking out. Well, finally, in 15 freaking years, somebody had the guts to put something forward from the White House or in Congress or otherwise, and got everybody talking. Now we're bringing something forward that looks like something that America should be looking at. So I'm very hopeful for it. I give Trump a lot of credit, and people don't, but dadgum, I doubt I'll get a Christmas card from him. Yeah, I might get one. I guess I get one of him and his pretty wife there and his kid. But anyway, I think we're going to do something with it. And I think America better start listening to what the truth is, and not what these crazy editorials saying that want to wreck our country anyway. We can't keep going down this road. It's not fixing Obamacare by dropping another $1 trillion in it. We need to kick the money changers out. We need to tell those insurance companies to go suck an egg. They under Trump, under the big beautiful bill, he cut out waste, abuse, and fraud. And what did that do? That cut into the insurance companies' profits, and their stocks plummeted. And then what they do? They raised rates on the ratepayers, and they pay their CEOs millions upon millions of dollars. And why aren't the left yet raising hell about that? Because they're getting money from them in their campaigns. Look at the millions of dollars that these liberal senators are getting. I mean, Bernie, for instance, he wouldn't allow anything to even correct the bill. So Trump sees that. He throws it out there, and then everybody freaks out. Finally, they're doing something. So again, you might not believe it, and people might just scratch their head and think, Burchett, you're crazy. But dadgum Trump put another one, put it to us again, and did the right thing. And I think America is gonna profit from it, benefit from it.
There you go. We'll keep preaching, Congressman. It's working. We got this article here. Elon Musk must be listening. He's talking about God yesterday on a podcast, Katie Miller's podcast. He says he believes in God now, which is like a marked change. He believes in the Creator. Wow.
Yeah.
Boy.
I think science can prove God. I'm going to develop my thought a little more. I got it in my head, but I've got some interesting thoughts on that and some stuff that's been revealed to me through other not mystically or anything, but just through people and talking to people a lot smarter than I am, which are not hard to find.
Keep preaching, Congressman. And a very, very Merry Christmas. We'll be up in D.C. with my family starting tomorrow. And so I hope we can get together.
My Christmas party's tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
11 to 12. Yeah. My buddy Gary Chapman wrote Tennessee Christmas. I'll be the one crying because he's going to play all the good Christmas songs that I loved growing up that my mama and daddy used to sing to me when I was a little boy. From 12 to 12:15. Last year it went to 12:16, but we thought it drug on too long. So 12 to 12:15, and I'll have my charcuterie board, which is Cheese Whiz and Ritz crackers. I always say charcuterie is like a spork. Is it a fork? Is it a spoon? You could name your child charcuterie when your wife becomes pregnant, and then you don't have to have a reveal party because it could be a guy or a girl. That name is kind of omnipresent, dude. So I think, and I'll be walking around with the Cheese Whiz. We got Mountain Dew and no, you're getting the big head, a PB&J bar. So 12:16 though. You don't have to go home, but you got to get out of my dadgum office. I'll be blinking the lights like the old days at Kmart. Y'all get out of here. But if you can make it, we'd love to have you, brother.
I'll check the flights.
God bless you, Benny. You're the man. Thank you for having me on, dude.
God bless you, Congressman. Fighting the good fight. All the right enemies. It's a lot of fun. And it shows you're doing something right, man. It's great.
I'll tell you somebody who did something right. Two people. And that's my mama and daddy. You see that stone right there? Daddy fought in the Pacific, but Jewish people always come by and drop rocks on it. Mama lost her brother fighting the Nazis. Her name's on the other side, and they're both buried right there. They were incredible humans. I wish you'd have known them, Benny. They weren't bumper sticker kind of Christians. They lived the life, and they were badass. Mama flew an airplane during the war, and Daddy fought the Japanese, and they were just incredible people.
That's it. Yeah, fighting for an America that actually remembers this, and this is the kind of America that we're fighting for right here. There's the Christmas party invitation.
Right there it is.
Not trying to dox you or anything, but
no, you're the man. More the merrier.
I'm sure all will be welcome, and the Mountain Dew will be flowing. Godspeed, Tim Burchett. Hopefully see you tomorrow, man.
God bless you. Hey, dude, if you can, I'll take y'all to dinner. It's on me.
As long as there's Cheese Whiz, leftover Cheese Whiz, we're here. My kids will love that.
We always get extra, so I have something to eat during the year.
Our country would be saved if we had 545 Tim Burchetts, right, in Congress. Yeah. Godspeed, Congress. Merry Christmas.
Love you, Benny. Bye-bye. I'm proud of your success.
My man. Yo, I got to tell you, we got some crazy news here. I'll send this into my team. Woke coffee is over in the state of Florida. Go check James Uthmeyer's feed right now. Might be good for Blackout Coffee or one of our other longtime partners, Patriot Mobile, in the state. Obviously, Patriot Mobile is what we use. We'll be traveling for the rest of the week. We've got a jam-packed, slammed schedule. We will be doing the show, but we're going to be doing it from a remote studio on Friday. Patriot Mobile, ladies and gentlemen, keeps us connected. The backbone of our company when we are on the road, when we're traveling during the holiday season. Probably going to get a lot of photos of my wife and kids during Christmas festivities. We'll be using our Patriot Mobile devices. That gives us, of course, the same or better premium coverage than the main carriers, and they also offer unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. We have the news from James Uthmeyer. This was sent in to me while we were in our last interview. He's the Attorney General of Florida. Starbucks used DEI to implement illegal race-based policy hiring and advancement, using DEI as an excuse to hire, promote, or humiliate an employee based on race violates Florida civil rights law, and we just filed a lawsuit to hold Starbucks accountable. Why it is so critical to have leadership. Obviously, I know that not every election is going to go our way, but we cannot swing this country leftward. Republicans must deliver in the next 11 months. It is December. November 2026 will be Judgment Day, and Republicans must deliver in the next 11 months. That's why we are going to go hard in the paint. Man, we got a lot of big things planned for the new year. We're excited about it. Your new year should be marked by wise moves, smart investments. Advantage Gold can help you out with that. I talk about it every single show. But ladies and gentlemen, Advantage Gold has performed great for me. And I think that when they do the rate cuts, which is looking like they're going to do, and when they deliver on a rip-roaring economy that is going to send so many things sky high, gold is already ripping, silver is ripping. Physical gold and silver through Advantage Gold, ladies and gentlemen, is how I diversify our portfolio. It's 100% legal and 100% smart to move into this IRS-approved strategy, converting your 401k or IRA into a retirement account, gold-backed retirement account. Here's how to get started. Text Advantage Gold, the word Benny, to 85545 right now. That's BENNY to 85545. You'll instantly get a free gold investment kit. Don't wait while the gold rally keeps breaking records. Okay. Where are we gonna jump to, boys? Oh, we barely got a chance to do like an A block at all. What am I gonna pop on back to? Let's just do a couple of just to round this out. Let's do some of these Trump highlights from last night's rally. We didn't get a chance to really like lay it down. But President Trump was in great spirits on his way to the rally. Trump started making fun of reporters who were using the bathroom while he was doing a press gag. Let's go.
You're going to have to take it easy with that thing. You know, it's a government plane, but I like to take care of it. Hello. Somebody's in there. Come on out.
Yeah. Covered some weighty topics on the show. A lot of people wanting to take the lightness of the Christmas season and make it dark, and we're trying our very best to bring light. The ornaments are all for, and President Trump, hilarious at the rally. Trump going off script on Ilhan Omar, causing absolute meltdowns at the rally. Let's go.
I think open borders are great. You know, where prisons are emptied into our country, right? Where we have people from all over the world being dumped into our country. The people that aren't wanted in their countries, by the way. I think that's a great, like Somalia. Welcome. Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise your hand. That's for Minnesota, you know. That's called the Great Big Minnesota Scam with one of the dumbest governors ever in history. I love this Elon Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing. They have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country, and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain. So now,
President Trump taking a hardline immigration stance has boosted his poll numbers and boosted Republican motivation and enthusiasm sky high before a critical special election in Tennessee. Jumped 8 points. President Trump taking hardline immigration stances like this one. Here we go. Trump is back to saying, not behind the scenes. Now he's just saying it in front of the scenes just to prove how much this country has changed in a short 5 or 6 years. Shithole countries.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did. Remember I said that to the senators, they came in, the Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
Trump's going there. Republicans love it. This is part of America First. Take care of your own children first. Stop treating the entire world as though you are president of the world. You're president of the United States of America. It's a paraphrase of the line that got J.D. Vance the loudest applause when he was speaking at the Turning Point event. Stop acting as though you're president of the world. I'm not vice president of the world. I'm vice president of the United States of America, he said. And we're going to put this country first. And part of that is, quite frankly, ending the fraudulent refugee programs. Why bring people here who have destroyed their own country? Again, it makes absolutely no sense. It's indefensible. It's illogical. But we all know why. They want the fraud here. They want the election fraud here. They want the voter fraud. They want the actual immigration fraud and the Medicaid fraud. That is the system that they function under. So it actually locks in perfectly with the modern Democrat Party, as Stephen Miller elucidates here in this just absolute scorcher of a 60-second flamethrower as to why we must end the Somali fraud.
Not only is the first generation unsuccessful, again, Somalia is a clear example here. Not only is the first generation unsuccessful, but you see persistent issues in every subsequent generation. So you see consistent high rates of welfare use, consistent high rates of criminal activity, consistent failures to assimilate. But this shouldn't be a surprise, Will. It's just common sense. If Somalians cannot make Somalia successful, why would we think that the track record would be any different in the United States? Go third world country by third world country. No one's saying, look, there are people all over the world that are great people. But you look at the society. If Libya keeps failing, if the Central African Republic keeps failing, if Somalia keeps failing, right? If these societies all over the world continue to fail, you have to ask yourself, if you bring those societies into our country and then give them unlimited free welfare, what do we think is going to happen? You're going to replicate the conditions that they left over and over and over again. And we mask the impact of immigration in every public policy issue we discuss. We talk about test scores. Well, if you subtract immigration out of test scores, all of a sudden our test scores skyrocket. If you subtract immigration out of health care, all of a sudden we don't have nearly the size of the healthcare challenges our country faces. If you subtract immigration out of public safety, all of a sudden we don't have violent crime in so many of our cities. Issue after issue, we talk about these things as they just happen to us. The schools just suddenly fail. Violent crime just suddenly explodes. The deficit just suddenly skyrockets. These are a result of social policy choices that we made through immigration.
Just a frickin' barn burner. Make sure that that one's in the shorts list today. Man, that is just a barn burner. It's so true. We caught a lot of flack saying, yeah, everything in this country gets worse with immigration. Everything in this country can be solved. All of the things that ameliorate your days, from traffic to bad schools to high prices to crippling home prices, all of the things that annoy you during the day are a result of 30 million plus criminal aliens being here, parasitically using our resources, depleting what is rightfully yours as an American, and making your life worse. We must have these policies. We must have them continue. We have to keep the house. We have to save America. Polymarket has a poll out on what's going to happen in the midterms. Let's go. Here we go. Well, it's interesting, this one. So it's Democrats' sweep right now has the highest margin. Democrats' sweep has the highest margin for Democrats. Democrat House, Republican Senate has the actual overall highest margin at 44%. At 34% probability, you have a full Democrat sweep of the House and Senate. It's a very good Senate map, frankly, and some of the Senate races are looking very good for Republicans to flip certain races, like, for instance, in Michigan, as long as they don't allow infinity communist students to vote. Republican sweep is at 21%. Pretty high. Democrat Senate, Republican House, that's not very likely. We can say that for sure. That's at 2%. So it looks like everyone's just kind of like sitting and waiting, right, to see the chessboard and to see what's going to happen and how this all plays out. I still am bewildered as to how we can watch what's going on in the nation, watch what's happening from the Democrat Party and the policies that they are projecting, the authoritarianism that they are projecting, the assassination culture that they are projecting, the continuation of the COVID policies, treating people like animals, everything from January 6th to locking you in to your home, to preventing you from going to your church. I mean, this is the modern day Democrat Party. And people are still down for it because of the vibes. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think that Trump can re-lock in. I think that the big, beautiful bill is going to go into effect on January 1, and that's going to include an enormous amount of tax cuts. You're going to get a new Fed chair in spring of next year. You're going to lower rates. The economy is going to rip. Things are going to boom. And frankly, everybody just votes on the economy. All these little things, ICE raids and Venezuela boats blowing up, like all these little things. Trump used a naughty word. Even Epstein, as near and dear as that is to our heart, that all disintegrates when the economy gets rip-roaring. People just don't care. Gas prices right now are cratering throughout the country. I saw a video this morning of gas below $2 a gallon in Colorado. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my prediction. I, again, walk on the sunny side of the street, silver linings for dark clouds around here. But we're going to see to it that we do our best to make sure that that is the result. How do we get that result? Well, good rest and sleep. I got to tell you, around the holiday season, we've been traveling a lot. We've been moving a lot. We've been gone every single weekend in December, and we continue to travel this weekend. We are looking forward to some rest. Beam Dream is how I get my rest. At night, I always have a tea, right? But you can use Beam Dreams, kind of like hot cocoa. But this has all natural ingredients that help you fall asleep and stay asleep naturally. Beam Dream is a company that is founded in America and run by people who share our values, hard work, integrity, and delivering results. This is the perfect gift for those hardworking Americans in your life this Christmas time. I tell you about Beam Dream Powder. It's a totally healthy, all-natural nighttime blend packed with science-backed ingredients shown to improve sleep so you can wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day. Beam is made with a powerful blend of all-natural ingredients, a lot of them that I don't know how to pronounce. I do know melatonin there, though. Anyway, you have to have good sleep to function. So please, right now, if you're waiting for the right time to try Beam, it's today. You can go to shopbeam.com/BennyShow. Use the code BennyShow. Take advantage of my exclusive offer, 40% off Beam Dream Powder. Discount code BennyShow. Get the best-selling Dream Powder for just $39. That's $1 a night. Shopbeam.com/BennyShow today. Our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen, in this freaking packed show, Klein. That's a packed show. Verse of the day. Here we go. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen it in its glory. Glory as of the Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. From John 1:14. The Word became flesh. Your words matter. What you're saying matters. What you're saying, the actions, and what you do, that is all that matters in life. Power, frankly. God will judge you by your words, will judge you by your actions. And the Word is the consolidation of Christendom into the Christ child, which is what we celebrate on Christmas morning. That the Word did become flesh, that Christ Jesus lived his life and died for us. His glory from the Son to the Father, full of grace and truth. That fulfillment of prophecy, that great promise for all of us, that we can have redemption in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We hope that you find that peace this holiday season, marching along with us into victory. In the end, we win. That's the best Christmas present there is. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Guess what day? Guess what? Guess what? I'll tell you the tale. Guess what? Guess what? I'll tell you the tale that's not funny or jolly. A brother in Somali stole all the money, but guess what? Guess what? Everything will be okay. Guess what day? What day it is? It's hump day.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and a dying legacy, media deal reads. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind us all from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun, we sail for #1. Show come come to mine the salt from lids for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings.